The double Mountain Drake Baron. So I think that's also why Ruler picked up this rapid fire cannon. It's not necessarily the item you would expect out of the Bears, but it's for those siege shots. They Taliyah all around with the double mountain. That was easy. But Samsung is also just making it look that easy.
Cutting through that tower like a hot knife through butter. Inhibitor falls as well. WE, they don't fancy themselves any opportunity for an engage yet.
Yeah, and Team WE has probably just waited too long to find these fights. They were never able to orchestrate that right engage, and it's the gold that is really paying off right now. It's just a 3-inhib destruction by Samsung. Team WE, the reason they're not engaging is because the game just ends on an engage, and they're hoping for some type of lucky fight with Mystic, but Samsung is not the team to give it to.
Trying to find an opportunity. Cosmic Radiance starts getting channeled, and Condi will stay alive just a little while longer, but the Chain of Corruption spreads from 957. He's forced to flash back away. Now Ambition takes a couple of autos. Look at those shields and the lockets and the heals. The third inhibitor falls. Samsung, despite the fight looking a little bit hairy, they get every inhibitor, and this will just allow them to use this 14,000 gold lead and double super minions to push down the next.
The game extends, but to what end when you lose all 3 inhibitors when you're WE? They have the teamfight tools, but they never felt confident enough to pull the trigger because they couldn't force anything out of Samsung. They're not even finding Krugs or minions or monsters in their base to find more gold. They can't close what is now feeling like an unassailable 15,000 gold lead.
And Papa Smithy, with the tempo of this game, Crown has gone to the library and picked up the same book that Faker was reading from yesterday. Got himself 9 stacks on that Magi's in 35 minutes. There's the next dragon, not an Elder. However, this game may be over before that even gets a chance to spawn, because Samsung, they have just absolutely controlled what felt like every stage of this game.
It's just so demoralizing if you're WE, this team that fancy yourself in a late game team fight. You would have been happy with the pace of the game being slow, but they kept slipping. Maybe they weren't even conscious of it, but every second it slipped a little bit further, a little bit further, a little bit further. We could identify it, but it was so small at the time. But now it's turning into a much faster pace because this game ends when Samsung chooses for it.
3 inhibs down, don't even need the Baron because there are 6 super minions that can crash at the same time as they prep this push. And they're even just pulling them off the turret with another Taliyah wall.
Yeah, that rapid fire cannon's going to keep Ruler safe as well if needed. There's the engage from Condi. Can't even finish the Cataclysm. He just gets dropped where he stands. Between Crown and Ruler, they destroy him. Team WE, last Bastion, last Nexus turret, last chance in a 4v5. Cosmic Radiance start getting channeled, and Ben will get split away from the team. Mystic goes down before he does. 957 and Shie, the last people standing. It will not matter, it will not care. And Samsung Galaxy are 1 win away from a rematch in the finals with SKT.
And that game was just pure, unadulterated domination by Samsung right here. It feels bad if you are WE right now in front of your home crowd to get beaten 10 kills to 1 in 36 minutes. Just total map play the entire time, and WE never found a fight.
And we've got verification, gentlemen. The download is complete, judging on what we saw in Game 3. WE looking demoralized because there was never that chance to make something happen. They'll find themselves on the red side also for Game 4 if we see Samsung choose blue, as has been the trend in the weekend. Samsung look relieved. They've earned themselves a bit of relief because that was as decisive as can be.
All right, 2-game match point now. Got a little bit of breathing room on the side of Samsung Galaxy, and it feels like they just found their gear. It feels like they found a groove. WE have got some gigantic questions to answer.
Yeah, and it's 2 things, because yes, Samsung has found their groove, but Team WE have definitely lost it. And as far as like the faith you have in them bouncing back, it's looking really grim for Team WE right
After a 27.5-minute crushing victory from Team W in Game 1, it's gone from bad to worse. Let's see what the analysts think about how they lost that game.
I mean, we could say it in so many ways, quick shot, but Samsung Galaxy here in Game 3 seem to have found their form. That precise, slow play that you talked about, Deficio, where they will win the game even without kills if they have to.
I mean, it's beautiful to look at, and it's so hard to play against. If you don't have an easy way back in a game like this, when you're like, do you get a mistake from Samsung? Not really. Do they overextend? Do they chase kills? No, they don't. They're just like, oh, there's the 1 kill we need. Here's a Baron, and then they just slowly grind you out. And if you don't have aggressive tools in the early game, WE can't win.
And this is kind of exactly how we laid it out in the pregame. You know, WE need to play around bottom lane. They're going to focus on this area of the map. That's why Samsung have crafted so much focus here. The Shen denies all of these plays around the bottom side of the map. The Varus pick is huge for Ruler, so much comfort there, and then they can actually be the ones to start off fights with that ultimate as well. You bring crowd control on the bottom side, even if you have that Taric for a little bit weaker of an early laning phase, they have the Taliyah and the Shen that can roam down there, so the solo lanes get to basically X out any of those bottom lane plays.
Yeah, and I think that 2 games in a row now, you've kind of had this feeling where it's like, well, if WE can get that fight, right, they could win the game. But Samsung does not give you that fight. They, as you said, they always go for the optimal play. They're willing to slowly grind you out. They're willing to play the map. And when they have better engage tools, when they have better responses to what WE's options are, unless they do slip up, unless they get over aggressive, WE never has a chance to take that fight because it doesn't matter how strong Cho'Gath is in this straight-up 5v5. He cannot move around the map as quickly as the Shen. And we cannot see the Orianna match the roams in the movement of the Taliyah either.
And that's why I think if you look at the draft, you know, on your screen here, when we go down to pick number 4, where you have the Cho'Gath, and pick number 5, where you have the Orianna for WE, I think that's where it kind of falls apart for them, because they have this bot lane I really like that can push very aggressively, they can try and take the tower against the Taric, but when you have an Orianna who can't lead his lane or her lane, and you have a scaling top as well, it gets really difficult to get the bot lane tower and be aggressive.
What are you taking place there, right? Because we look at the Cho'Gath as the
Syndra?
quintessential 957 champion, but it was mentioned by the casters that CA hadn't played Orianna a single time in summer, and so this was a very new pick for him. You think the Syndra may have been the way to go?
I mean, if you want to be more aggressive in mid lane early game, there's Syndra, there's LeBlanc, a champion he's played so much as well in the past. He used to be the Lucian guy as well. Like, not specific just him, but he's played Lucian as well. We saw that in MSI, and there are definitely more aggressive choices he can go for. I'm even going to bring up a champion that you guys might slap me in the face for, but Ryze is a thing.
Don't you say it.
And I'm just saying, if
It's
you
almost
want,
as bad as NHA.
Let him be, let him be.
if you want some early game pressure, there are multiple mid lane choices. Orianna is not one of them. And I think you need more early game if you're WE.
I mean, I'd even say,
I know.
what about an engaged support, right? You know, something a little bit different. So yes, the Karma does bring pressure in the bot lane. They do have that pushing strategy, but if you cannot actually execute on a lead, if you're getting shut down because of the roaming picks in the solo lane, then you need something that allows you to find fights when you have advantages in the mid game. And while yes, you can go early, you can look for the Syndra and these sort of early aggressive plays. If they want to play a team fight style, you still can. But we saw, you know, Ben on the Rakan. That was where they had their success. They're able to get a lead. They're getting these advantages, then they can find a fight. And if you're willing to play something like that, even like the Leon and like the Blitzcrank that we've seen being taken out, I don't know if he has those picks prepared, but that is a way to find fights and force fights when you have advantage.
I just want to see the lanes more aligned in what they're picked for. If you pick an engage on the bottom lane and you had a Blitzcrank in that game with 2 scaling solo lanes, I think the same thing happens, and it might even be worse. Because you're not going to be able to...
That's be cohesive game.
Exactly. That basically has been the breakdown for me, because Triss Karma, you can push on that turret and try and get some of that early gold going, but as soon as Shen is level 6, you saw them. Condi's just waiting around bottom lane defensively. They're just basically waiting for the counterplay, which Samsung are going to grind you out. They're not going to give you that opening.
And let's be clear, we're talking so much about Champion Select because Champion Select did dictate so much of the non-fighting that took place in this game. We really only got one big one, and that was 24 minutes in. Samsung Galaxy would come out on top in this one, 3 for 1, but we see WE's best attempt at a combo here.
And I think them just saying, you know, we have to look for a fight is correct, but when you're then all-inning on a Gragas, I just gotta say, no, you're not winning this fight here. Like, you need to find Varus or Taliyah. Like, yeah, they land a good shockwave here, which could have been the big one. And then the follow-up is the Cho'Gath ends up feasting the support next to him. And the first engage and then the actual kill onto the Taric was just not what they were looking for, and they were already behind.
Yeah, it's definitely very true. You also have to give a lot of credit to Samsung, though, for how well they avoided these fights, for how well they picked their battles, and even for the champion pools of the solo laners. I mean, yes, they did get their roaming picks, but the Nard and the Malzahar have been so big for Kube and for Crown that they're drawing those bans, right? They're opening up the ability to play these other picks, and there's just so many champions that it feels like they're very threatening on right now that it becomes really tough in draft.
And now we find, or rather Team WE find themselves in the opposite position of RNG from yesterday. Now down 2-1 in the series. They are the last hope of the LPL and the Chinese region here in terms of making it to the final and not letting it be a rematch of last year's final. So, with Samsung electing to go back to blue side. WE mounting back-to-back wins. Let's talk about mentality of these players and how they find their groove that Jat claims they lost.
I think WE needs to go back to what they did in game 1, where they managed to get a lot of engage, a lot of very aggressive picks who could actually force fights in the early game. I think that benefited them quite a lot. They had the Shen and they had Zyra Rakan. Now, obviously, you're probably not getting that entire trio once again, but they can get room for more aggressive early game picks. And I actually think being on red side is not bad for them, because they can now last pick either mid or top lane. Ideally, they last pick mid and get Jay in a good early matchup so he can actually roam to top or bot side.
Yeah, and I think they need to do all of that without giving up the Janna, you know, as we have seen before, which is hard because you're trying to shuffle around these pieces, but there are still the key bans that you can't give up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be very difficult for WE if Samsung is executing on this level, but I definitely agree. Best chance is early aggression, drafting something he said that makes sense. If you're going to go for this early aggression in the mid lane, then all in on a mid and early game strategy. We've seen them pull these off before with Jace and Caitlyn and these sorts of things. I wouldn't even mind seeing them go for some sort of early pushing strategy.
Yeah, and I think Crown is a guy you can definitely punish. Like, I don't think he's been amazing in this game here. I think he's been very open for ganks, especially, which is, again, where you have a good combo in the mid lane between your jungler and your mid lane, and you can take him down.
You brought up the LeBlanc. I would love to see CS LeBlanc come out here when everything's on the line. Any final thoughts here before we go? That's it. All right, Samsung Galaxy are one win away from a rematch versus SKT in the World Finals. When we come back, see if Team WE can tie up the series. Don't go anywhere.
Mission.
They're going to look for it.
Dead.
First blood will be picked up by Rula onto Shie.
We have many secrets.
How long can this go on? How long can this go on? I'll let the dogs out.
Just a pinch of vigor.